Have you ever wondered why someone in their 50s can spend months lifting weights, yet see almost no real muscle growth? What's surprising is that this isn't just about getting older. In fact, many people are working harder than ever in the gym, following the same routines they used years ago, eating what they believe is enough protein, and staying consistent week after week. Yet their muscles seem to stop responding. Most assume it's simply age. But that's not what modern research suggests. Scientists studying healthy aging have discovered something far more interesting. After 50, your muscles don't suddenly lose the ability to grow. Instead, your body gradually changes the way it responds to exercise. The same workout that once built strength can become far less effective. Not because you're doing less, but because your body is processing that effort differently. And here's the part that catches most people off guard. The first signs usually don't appear in the mirror. They appear in everyday life. Carrying groceries feels heavier. Standing up from a low chair takes a little more effort. Opening a tight jar becomes surprisingly frustrating. Climbing stairs leaves your legs feeling tired much sooner than before. Most people dismiss these changes as normal aging. But what if they're actually early warning signs that your muscles have stopped adapting the way they used to? If that's true, then lifting more weight isn't always the answer. In fact, for many adults over 50, pushing harder without fixing one hidden problem can lead to slower progress, longer recovery, and even greater frustration. The encouraging news is that this process isn't random. Researchers have spent years uncovering why it happens, and more importantly, what can be done about it. And once you understand the real reason your muscles change after 50, you'll never look at strength training the same way again. The biggest surprise isn't that muscles stop growing. It's why they stop, and why most people are trying to solve the wrong problem. But before we uncover what's really happening inside your muscles, I'm curious about something. If you're over 50, or you're helping a parent or loved one stay strong, tell me in the comments. What's become noticeably harder over the last few years? Is it climbing stairs, carrying groceries, getting up from the floor? Or maybe your strength in the gym just isn't what it used to be. I read every comment because the experiences you share often reveal the same patterns researchers have been studying for years. Now, here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. For decades, scientists believed muscle loss after 50 was simply unavoidable. The advice was straightforward. Lift heavier, train harder, and eat more protein. Those things certainly matter. But over the last several years, researchers have uncovered something that changes the picture completely. They found that the real problem often begins before the muscle itself starts shrinking. The change starts much deeper, in the communication between your brain, your nerves, and your muscle fibers. In other words, your muscles may not be failing because they're too old. They may be failing because the signals telling them to grow are no longer being received the same way they once were. And that changes everything. It explains why two people can follow the exact same workout program, eat the same amount of protein, spend the same amount of time in the gym, yet one continues building strength while the other barely notices any progress. The difference isn't always determination. It isn't motivation. And surprisingly, it isn't even age by itself. It's a biological shift that most people never realize is happening. Once that shift begins, adding more weight to the bar doesn't necessarily solve the problem. Sometimes it makes the problem even worse. So if lifting heavier isn't the real answer, what is? The answer starts with understanding one hidden change that quietly affects almost every adult after 50. And once you see how that single change influences every workout you do, the advice you've probably heard for years will suddenly make a lot more sense. Because before you can build stronger muscles, you first have to understand why your body stopped responding in the first place. And that's exactly where the science takes us next. So what exactly changes after 50? To answer that, we need to look beyond the muscles themselves. Because the biggest shift doesn't happen where most people think it does. Imagine trying to make a phone call. You have a perfectly good phone. The battery is fully charged. The speaker works, but the signal is weak. No matter how many times you try calling, the message never gets through clearly. Something very similar can begin happening inside the human body. Your muscles may still be capable of growing, but the signals telling them to repair, adapt, and become stronger are no longer as powerful or as efficient as they once were. Scientists call one part of this process anabolic resistance. It sounds complicated, but the idea is surprisingly simple. When you're younger, a workout creates tiny amounts of stress inside your muscles. Your body quickly recognizes that stress, repairs the muscle fibers, and builds them back a little stronger. It's one of the most remarkable survival systems the body has. But after 50, that same workout doesn't always create the same response. It's not because the exercise stopped working. It's because your muscles become less sensitive to the signals that tell them to grow. Think of it like knocking on a door. When you're 25, one knock is enough. At 50 or 60, it's as if the person inside doesn't hear you as well. You may need a better signal, not just a louder knock. This is why many people increase the weight they're lifting, train longer, or push themselves harder, yet still see little improvement. The problem isn't always effort. Sometimes the body simply isn't responding the way it used to. And that's only part of the story. Researchers have also found that age affects something even more important than muscle fibers themselves. It affects the communication between your brain and your muscles. Every movement you make begins as an electrical message. Your brain sends that message through your nervous system, telling specific muscle fibers exactly when to contract and how much force to produce. When those signals become less efficient with age, fewer muscle fibers may activate during the same exercise. So even though you're working hard, your muscles may never receive the full message they need to respond at their best. And once that communication begins to weaken, strength often starts declining long before people notice significant muscle loss. Which raises an important question. If lifting heavier isn't enough, and the problem isn't simply getting older, then what can you actually do to help your muscles respond the way they once did? The answer begins with something surprisingly simple, and it's probably not what you've been told to focus on first. But here's where many people unknowingly make things worse. Once they notice their strength declining, their first instinct is almost always the same. Lift heavier, do more sets, spend more time in the gym, push harder. It sounds logical. After all, if your muscles aren't growing, working them even harder should solve the problem, right? Not necessarily. For many adults over 50, that's exactly where progress begins to stall. Because when your body becomes less responsive to training signals, simply adding more weight doesn't always create more muscle. Sometimes, it simply creates more fatigue. Imagine trying to have a conversation in a noisy room. Shouting louder doesn't always help if the other person can't hear you clearly. The better solution is improving the connection, not just increasing the volume. Your muscles work in a surprisingly similar way. If the communication between your brain and your muscles has become less efficient, pushing harder without addressing that change can leave your body exhausted instead of stronger. And that's exactly what researchers continue to observe. Many older adults aren't limited by a lack of motivation. They're limited by recovery. As we age, muscle repair naturally takes longer. The body becomes slower at rebuilding damaged muscle fibers, producing the proteins needed for growth and restoring energy after intense exercise. That doesn't mean improvement is impossible. It simply means the strategy has to change. Training smarter becomes far more important than training longer. This is why two people can follow identical workout plans and experience completely different results. One person feels stronger every month. The other feels sore, frustrated, and convinced that age has finally caught up with them. But age isn't always the deciding factor. Often, it's whether the body has been given the right conditions to respond. And that's where another common mistake appears. Many people focus almost entirely on the workout itself. Very few pay equal attention to what happens before the workout and after it. Yet those two periods may influence muscle growth just as much as the exercise itself. Preparing your nervous system. fueling your muscles properly, allowing enough recovery. These aren't optional details. They're part of the signal your body uses to decide whether it's worth building new muscle. Ignore those signals, and your body becomes far less willing to invest its energy in growth. Support them, and the same workout can produce a completely different outcome. So if lifting heavier isn't the first thing you should change, what is? The answer begins before you perform a single repetition. And it may be the missing step that determines whether your muscles continue getting stronger or slowly stop responding altogether. So, if simply lifting heavier isn't the answer, where should you begin? Surprisingly, the first step has very little to do with adding more weight. It starts by preparing your body to actually respond to the workout you're about to do. Think about it this way. Imagine trying to start your car on a freezing winter morning. You wouldn't immediately slam your foot on the accelerator and expect the engine to perform at its best. You give a moment to warm up. The human body works much the same way. As we age, our muscles, joints, connective tissues, and nervous system all need a little more preparation before they're ready to produce their best performance. Yet, this is one of the most overlooked parts of strength training. Many people walk into the gym, grab the first weight they see, and immediately begin their workout. But your nervous system doesn't instantly switch into peak performance mode. It needs a signal. Just a few minutes of intentional movement can dramatically change how your muscles respond. Simple mobility exercises, controlled body weight movements, gentle activation drills. These aren't designed to tire you out. They're designed to wake your body up. Researchers have found that when muscles receive better neural activation before training, they can recruit more muscle fibers during the workout itself. That means you're not necessarily working harder. You're working more effectively. And that's an important distinction, because after 50, efficiency often matters more than intensity. Another mistake many people make is believing every workout should leave them exhausted. If you're completely drained every time you leave the gym, your body may spend more time recovering than adapting. Muscle growth doesn't happen while you're lifting the weight. It happens afterward, when your body repairs the tiny microscopic changes created during exercise. That's why recovery isn't separate from training. Recovery is part of the training. The same applies to protein. Many people know protein is important, but they underestimate how important it becomes after 50. Because of anabolic resistance, your muscles often require a stronger nutritional signal before they fully activate the rebuilding process. In other words, eating enough protein isn't just about hitting a number. It's about giving your body the raw materials it needs at the moment they're most useful. But even that isn't the complete picture, because there's one more factor quietly influencing every workout you do, one that most people rarely think about. And once you understand how it affects your muscles every single night, you'll realize why some people continue building strength well into their 70s, while others struggle to maintain the muscle they already have. Now, let's bring all of this together. If you wanted to build muscle after 50 as efficiently as possible, what would that actually look like? It starts long before you pick up a weight. First, prepare your body. Spend a few minutes improving mobility, waking up your joints, and activating the muscles you're about to train. Think of it as turning the lights on before asking your body to perform. Next, focus on quality, not quantity. Instead of chasing heavier weights every session, concentrate on controlled movements with proper technique. Make every repetition count. Your muscles don't measure the number on a dumbbell. They respond to the quality of the signal they receive. Then comes progression. Progress is still essential, but after 50, it doesn't always mean adding more weight. Sometimes progress means performing the same exercise with better control. Sometimes it means improving your balance. Sometimes it means moving through a greater range of motion. And sometimes it simply means recovering well enough to train consistently next week. Those are all signs that your body is adapting. Nutrition plays an equally important role. Your muscles are constantly breaking down and rebuilding themselves. Without enough high-quality protein throughout the day, your body has fewer resources available for that rebuilding process. Hydration matters too. Even mild dehydration can affect strength endurance, and recovery more than many people realize. And then there's sleep. This is where many people unknowingly lose progress. Every workout sends your body a message, but it's during deep sleep that your body decides how to respond to that message. Repair damaged muscle fibers, restore your nervous system, support hormone regulation, prepare you for the next training session. In many ways, sleep is where yesterday's workout becomes tomorrow's strength. Miss enough quality sleep, and even a well-designed training program becomes less effective. Get enough restorative sleep, and your body is far more likely to adapt the way you want it to. If this explanation has changed the way you think about building muscle after 50, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these surprised you the most? Warming up properly, recovery, protein, or sleep? Let me know in the comments. I read them all, and your questions often inspire future videos. Here's the encouraging part. None of these changes require superhuman effort. You don't have to train every day. You don't need complicated equipment. And you certainly don't have to accept that getting older automatically means getting weaker. Small improvements, repeated consistently, can produce remarkable results over time. But there is one final piece that connects everything we've discussed. It's the difference between simply exercising and creating an environment where your muscles can continue adapting for years to come. And once you understand that final principle, you'll never think about healthy aging the same way again. So, what's the one principle that connects everything we've talked about? It's this. Your muscles don't grow because you exercise. They grow because your body decides they're worth rebuilding. That may sound like a small difference, but it's one of the biggest mindset shifts anyone over 50 can make. Every workout sends your body a question. Is this muscle still necessary? Your body answers that question based on the signals it receives, not just during the workout, but throughout the entire day. Were the muscles activated properly? Was there enough protein available to rebuild them? Did the nervous system recover? Did you get enough deep sleep? Was the challenge meaningful enough to justify adaptation? When those signals work together, your body receives a clear message. Keep this muscle. We'll need it again. When those signals are weak or inconsistent, your body reaches a very different conclusion. This tissue isn't being used efficiently anymore. We don't need to spend energy maintaining it. From your body's perspective, that isn't a mistake. It's an energy-saving strategy. After all, muscle is expensive tissue. It requires calories, protein, oxygen, and constant maintenance. If your brain doesn't receive strong evidence that those muscles are essential, your body naturally begins redirecting its resources elsewhere. That's why muscle loss after 50 isn't simply about getting older. It's often about the quality of the signals you're sending every single day. This also explains why some people remain impressively strong well into their 70s and even 80s. They aren't necessarily training harder than everyone else. They're training in a way that consistently tells their body, these muscles are still needed. Their workouts are intentional. Their recovery is consistent. Their nutrition supports adaptation, and their daily habits reinforce the same message over and over again. That's what creates long-term strength. Not a single workout, not a miracle supplement, not one perfect exercise, but hundreds of small decisions that work together over months and years. This is also why chasing shortcuts rarely works. There is no secret exercise that overrides poor recovery, no supplement that replaces quality sleep, and no amount of motivation that can permanently overcome biology. The encouraging news is that biology isn't your enemy. It's incredibly adaptable. Even after 50, your body continues responding to the signals you give it. The question is no longer whether your muscles can grow. The real question is, are you giving your body a reason to build them? And that brings us to one final takeaway, perhaps the most important lesson of all. The truth is, getting older doesn't automatically mean becoming weaker. What often changes is not your potential. It's the way your body responds to the signals you give it. And once you understand that, everything else begins to make sense. Strength isn't something you lose overnight. It's something you either reinforce or slowly stop reminding your body to keep. Every healthy meal, every quality workout, every night of restorative sleep, every decision to keep moving. They're all part of the same conversation you're having with your body every single day. The remarkable thing is that your body is still listening, even after 50, even after 60, and for many people, even well beyond that. It may respond more gradually than it once did. It may require a little more patience, a little more consistency, and a little more intention, but the ability to adapt is still there. That's why healthy aging isn't about trying to become the person you were 20 years ago. It's about becoming the strongest, healthiest version of yourself today. Because every small improvement you make now has the potential to shape how you move, how you feel, and how independently you live in the years ahead. If today's journey into the science of muscle growth changed the way you think about aging, I'd genuinely love to know. What surprised you the most? Was it the role of your nervous system, the importance of recovery, or the idea that your muscles respond to signals, not simply to heavier weights? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them, and many of your questions inspire future videos. And if you enjoy evidence-based explanations that make the science of the human body easier to understand and more useful in everyday life, consider subscribing. Every week, we explore the hidden biology behind strength, movement, healthy aging, and the incredible systems working quietly inside your body. Until next time, keep asking better questions, because the more you understand how your body works, the better you can work with it instead of against it. Before you leave, there's one more hidden piece of the puzzle. We talked today about why your muscles stop responding after 50, but your muscles aren't working alone. Every night while you sleep, another remarkable system inside your body quietly begins resetting itself, influencing how you move, recover, and feel the next day. That video is on your screen now, and once you understand it, you'll never think about sleep or your body the same way again. I'll see you there.